Have you ever been around somebody that is so constantly negative that it just drains you?
It does.
I've got this friend that every time I talk to them, well, let me give them some grace. Every other time I talk to them, they just rehash the same things that happened to them and how people have wronged them.
Wow.
Over and over and over. And I love this person. They are such an authentic individual.
Yeah.
And they're great. But I can only handle so much conversation because I know inevitably if I talk to them, the conversation will turn to how terrible either a family member or a friend or something somebody did to them.
Yeah.
And even though they're so great in so many ways, that attitude, that rehashing the negative over and over again pushes me away from them.
Well, it drains you.
Yes.
I mean, you get around them and they do that and you're just like, oh, here we go. And it just kind of makes you want to run away.
Yeah. Or let's look at the opposite. Have you ever been around somebody that's just happy?
Yeah.
And when you get around them, they're a breath of fresh air. Like you just feel better.
Yeah.
You feel better about yourself. You feel better about life.
Yeah.
It's like when they walk in to the room or they have a conversation and they really pay attention to you, things just light up.
Yeah, it's true.
That is the difference of attitude.
Yeah.
Attitude is so important. It is a make or break situation, not only when it comes to how we affect people in general, but when it comes to our romantic relationships.
It is. It is. And it's one of those things that when you have the right attitude, you know, it really opens up a lot of doors. And for guys who want women to be attracted to them, if you have the right attitude, it can make a world of difference.
Oh, yeah. Attitude is a make or break situation. And so there is a specific attitude that we are going to talk about today that is attractive to the majority of women.
Yeah.
Because it's just attractive in general.
It is.
It is going to attract not only women, but also friends
Yeah.
and a brotherhood and mentors. All of these things can go back to one basic attitude that we are going to discuss on today's show.
This is the Thriving Man Podcast with David and Reese Maxwell. These weekly shows are designed to help you remove the confusion from your life and make real progress with your growth. No matter where you are or where you're going, we're here to help you live a life you can be proud of. So welcome to the Thriving Man Podcast.
Welcome to the Thriving Man Podcast, where our goal is to help you get out of survival mode and into living a life that you can be proud of. I'm Reese.
And I'm David.
He's actually my dad. And today we are discussing an important attitude.
Yeah.
Tell him what the attitude is, Padre.
Today we're talking about the attitude of security. And security is one of the most attractive things you can have. We're mainly talking about it in a relational aspect today, but really in all aspects of life.
Yep.
When you as a man are genuine, you're humble, you're confident in who you are, you know who you are, there's something about that just is going to bring people to you. Now, we got to understand, when we say being secure, it's not being cocky. There are a lot of people out there who are cocky. I'm the best, I'm the greatest. A lot of those people, they're actually insecure. They've just created this persona. You know, it's being confident in who you are. It's still being able to learn and grow, but knowing who you are. You know, it's like, I think of one of my favorite old cartoons, the Johnny Bravo.
Yeah.
You know, Johnny Bravo, no matter what happened, the boy was going to push through. You know, every woman in the world rejected him, but he always had an excuse. Well, you know, it's because of this or that. And he's just hilarious because a lot of guys live life like that.
Yep.
It's never their fault. You know, it's always their, you know, it's always someone else's. And that's just not real. We don't want to be a Johnny Bravo. We don't want to be a guy who's narcissistic and all about himself. We want to be a guy who's just secure. This is who I am.
Yeah.
It means we can grow, we can get better, but this is me.
Yeah.
And when you are secure, you're just going to be a lot more attractive, especially to other women.
Yeah. It's a lot of it's about knowing who you are, knowing where you are headed in life.
Yeah.
And then being comfortable with that.
Yeah.
A secure person can be in the spotlight or they can be behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
It's not going to affect their self-view.
Mm-hmm.
A man is secure in who he is, and that attracts people to them. Women want to be with a man who knows who he is.
Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting, when I was in high school, I talk about I was the plucky comic relief. I was always the friend to the guy who all the girls wanted. Well, what made those guys attractive to the women? Well, a lot of it had to do with they were just secure in who they were. They knew who they were. They were just themselves. And there were so many girls who were attracted to them. And, high school is kind of a little microcosm of life. And it's like that. There are guys out there who, hey, this is who I am. They're not playing a part. They're just being themselves. And it's amazing how many women are attracted to them, how many women want to be around him. And for me, I needed girls to like me. And it almost does the opposite because I was insecure. So I would try to do things to make them like me, and it just never worked out. But the guys who didn't try, who were just themselves and didn't necessarily care, that's the ones they wanted.
Yeah. What's funny is there are people that fake that aura to attract a woman.
They do.
They act like, oh, I don't care. And the women are like, well, if you don't care, I want you to talk to me now. And that's manipulation. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody who, I guess, because they have an inward strength, a stability. Women want that. Women want a stable person. Because guess what? You want that even in your friends. You want that in a woman. You don't want a woman that's high in the sky one day and then hates herself the next 5 minutes afterwards. You want a woman who is relatively not emotionless. But they have emotions. The emotions don't have them. And we as men need to cultivate that kind of attitude in our life if we want to attract the right kind of women.
And what it means is when you're secure, it doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't mean you're prideful. And that's the confusion. A lot of men think that, well, if I become secure, confident, won't I be full of pride? And that's just not true. And so what we're going to talk about is a little bit of the difference between security and pride, because a lot of men get that confused. And we've got to understand that when you're prideful, pride hides your weakness. Pride, you kind of, I guess, right way to put it is you kind of worship yourself. So you want to present your best image forward. You deny what's really going on in your life. You want to kind of lift yourself up to other people when you're full of pride. You only want to put your best face forward. You don't want to show the real you. And again, I'm not saying you have to dress or look like a slob or anything like that. But a confident man is a man who can dress nice, and he's okay with that. He's not doing it to try and earn respect. He respects himself, so he dresses nice. There's a difference between that and between a guy who dresses to make sure what other people think of me. I want to put off an image. I want to be this way. Or guys sometimes will think, I have to be better than the other guy. So they're always competing. Those are symptoms of pride, not confidence. And what we want to do as men is let our confidence show, not our pride in that.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys, and I'm sure you know people like this. I'm sure it's not you. It's only other people that ever deal with these problems. There are a lot of guys that fall into two categories. Either one, they need to be the best. I mean, you mentioned that. The guy who, he's always got to be the smartest person in the room. A know-it-all. We all have this friend, the know-it-all. And they will take every opportunity to show you how smart they are.
How much they know.
There's that guy. There's the person who, not only the know-it-all, there's the person who has to be number one at every sport. If we ever play a game, I got to win. And if I don't win, I'm going to be more triggered than anything. There's that guy. And then there's also the people who project an image of, I don't care. I don't care. You can be my friend or not. I don't care. Like they really care about showing you how much they don't care.
Let me tell you how much I don't care.
Because it's an image. And in a culture like with social media, that's part of it. But humans have always been this way. When we're insecure, we project an image because we feel like who we are is not enough.
And our pride takes that image and kind of makes it to where, oh, that's real. It's kind of like if you've ever been to like Disney or one of these places, a Hollywood studio, and you see a set and it looks like a real city street, but then you go behind and they're all fake walls. Mm-hmm. They're painted and built to look real, but they're not. Mm-hmm. A lot of men, that's their life. Mm-hmm. They have all these images up because they're really hiding the fact that they're not really secure in who they are. Their image takes them over.
Right.
Their image is the most important thing in their life.
Well, their security, to use the term, is placed in an image that they've created.
Yep.
Or a specific set of awards or a certain, whatever kind of social cue that they choose.
Yeah.
That is where their value lies. It's in a circumstance. It's not internal.
Yeah.
It's in a thing.
Yeah.
Like the image is something separate from themselves that they have to maintain in order to feel like they're good enough. And women sometimes get deceived by that, but I feel like more often than not, they see through it. And they're like, this dude's lying to himself and he's kind of obnoxious. And that's not attractive to me.
Yeah.
Because men who lie to themselves will inevitably lie to other people.
Yeah.
Well,
their life will be a lie. And a lot of women, especially women of quality, when they start to see that, they're going to back off.
Run.
They're going to, no matter how good looking you are as a man, if you're not, secure in who you are, if it's all built up on pride, she's going to back off. She's going to pull out. Where, pride, you hide your weakness, but secure men, they kind of laugh at their weakness. And I don't mean laugh as in you're mocking it. You just kind of laugh at, that's who I am. A secure man is a man who understands I'm human. There's things I'm good at. There's things I'm not good at. And they're okay with that. They're okay in laughing at themselves going, I'm terrible. Like my handwriting is terrible. Or I'm terrible with details. Or I'm really terrible at creative thinking. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
A secure man is saying, these are my strengths. These are my weaknesses. And they're okay with that.
Absolutely. And I think another way to put it really would be a prideful man takes himself very seriously. He takes his image very seriously because his self-worth is riding on it.
Yeah.
A man who's secure doesn't take himself too seriously. An example from my own life, I deal with perfectionism. And that's just like, I want to do things right. I want to be good.
Yeah.
I really want to. And so for the longest time, there would be moments where I would avoid trying new things because I knew I was going to screw up because you're learning something new.
Yeah.
So like I would try new things by myself, but with people around, like I don't want to try and do this random sport thing because I've never done this before in my life. And so it made me feel uncomfortable and I didn't like myself messing up because it just, I now realize it was that image.
Yeah.
But as I've grown, as I've gotten more secure, to use the term, I've begun to be able to try new things.
Yeah.
I've begun to be able to do things that I wouldn't normally have done.
Yeah.
And I'm better for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where everybody has their own version of that. You may not be the exact same as me, but a lot of times that pride limits you, whereas security expands your world. And women want a guy who's okay with trying new things.
Yeah. Well, they see the potential of a man when he becomes more and more secure, he can expand his world. In the business world, you hear a lot of guys talk about this, mainly guys who are the millionaires and billionaires. They talk about when they got to that point and realized they couldn't do it by themselves.
Couldn't do it all.
They understood that these are the things I'm good at. These are the things I'm not good at. And then they brought people in who were good and even better at those things than they were.
Oh, yeah.
When they became more secure, it's amazing how much more successful they became. Why? Because they recognize, I'm not good at this. Let me bring in someone who's better than me at this, and that's going to make everything better, and everybody gets more successful. Businessmen who do that usually are going to be very successful because they're going to realize, I can't do it all, but I'm going to function on what I'm good at.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about a great example of security when it comes to romantic relationships. Guys who are with a woman that they know is out of their league.
Yeah.
And then when asked about why this woman who's like supermodel equivalent is dating this frumpy dude, she's like, he makes me laugh.
Yep.
And he's just like, really what's underneath that is he's himself and he enjoys life.
Yep.
And I feel like I'm sure those women probably have a lot of guys come to them who take themselves very seriously.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I'm as attractive as you.
Yeah.
Now I work in front of the mirror for 3.5 hours a day to make sure that that's the case.
Yep.
And if I ever see a gray hair, I'm going to explode.
Yeah.
But the dude that walks up and is just himself, that's the guy that usually gets the girl.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between pride and security.
Yeah, and we see that. I think all of us as guys, sometimes we see a guy and we're like, how did he get her?
Exactly.
And a lot of it has to do with he's just himself. Recently, I was watching one of the award show or something, and it showed Jack Black. And if you've ever seen Jack Black, he's very much a person who projects the image of just being himself.
Right.
I don't know him, so I don't know if that's real or not. But he comes across as just, hey, this is who I am. You know, he doesn't have a six-pack. You know, he's got kind of a case. I mean, he's not a small man.
He's got a keg. Yeah.
And he's just himself. Well, at this award show, all these famous starlets went up to him and they wanted selfies with Jack Black. They just wanted to be around Jack Black. He's very popular around a lot of Hollywood, the beautiful people. Why is that? Because he has that image of, I'm just myself. And that's what you want to be as a man. You just want to be yourself. Again, it doesn't mean you don't try and grow. That's part of being yourself, knowing your strengths, weaknesses, and working on them. But when you just present that, when you're just yourself, you're going to become much more attractive to women. A lot of times women who in the normal, you wouldn't think, well, she wouldn't be into me.
Right.
She wouldn't like me. She's, you know, I'm probably a 5, she's a 9. Well, you never know, because to women, that emotional connection with a man who's secure is much more important than even physical looks. So even if you think, well, physically, I don't match up to her, that may not be that important to her. And that's the thing you want to understand. That's why you want to grow who you are as a man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think another part that plays into this is the difference between pride and security when it comes to relationships. Pride tears other people down.
Yeah.
A man who's quick to tear other people's ideas down and build his own ideas up, that is a prideful man.
Yeah.
It's the whole element of like, well, I mean, I think a good way of looking at it is the know-it-all.
Yeah.
A know-it-all not only wants to make himself look smart.
Yeah.
He kind of wants you to feel inferior.
Yeah.
He wants you to know how much more he knows than you. He wants you to know how much he helps you. But if you ever know something more than him, he's probably going to get a little aggressive.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be uncomfortable. And I know people like that.
Yeah.
And
there are people like that.
And that's people who are trying to tear others down to build themselves up. What woman wants to live like that?
Yeah.
What woman wants to be torn down just so that the dude can feel good about himself? Nobody wants that, even in a friendship. So pride has this inevitable like sense of competition.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you having means I'm a have not. And if I'm going to be somebody who has, that means you have to have not.
Well, it's the guy who's always trying to find the weaknesses in other guys. You know, it's the guy who sits at home and doesn't do anything, but he gets online and wants to tell Nick Saban how to coach football. Yeah. And you're kind of like, okay, this guy's the greatest coach ever in college football. And, well, he made the wrong call in this game. Okay, but he's still getting paid a whole lot more money than you are. And he seems to be doing okay. You know, but they want to put other people down. And we see that in small things. Guys at work, they want to put the successful guy down. Oh, he just, you know, he's a brown noser.
That's true.
You know, he's kissing up to the boss because he works hard. And so we want to be careful as men that we don't do that. We don't take on these images out of our pride where we have to put other people down and make them feel bad or put them down in front of others.
Yeah, I think a lot like cynics, people that are cynical, 100% that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's I have to, in order to make myself be built up, I got to tear somebody else down.
Yeah.
Or dudes that project the image of being a bad boy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm going to tear down the world around me because I'm great.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like pride oftentimes leads to that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
And women, some are attracted to a bad boy. But usually one of two things happen. Either one, they do not stay with him because they get around it and are like, okay, image is not as great as the reality is.
Yeah.
And then they leave.
Yeah.
Or a very unhealthy relationship comes from that hurts both people.
Yeah.
We don't want that for you.
Yeah.
That's not useful. That's not something that can build you up, and it can't build the people around you up.
Yeah.
Pride leads to those unhealthy relationships.
Yeah, and putting other people down is something that when you do it, sometimes you don't even realize you're doing it. So you have to be aware of what's going on.
It's a good point.
I saw a TikTok recently of a girl talking about when she goes on a date with a guy, she watches how he treats the waiter or waitress, someone who can't do anything for them, because she says that kind of tells her a lot about his personality. And it's true. You know, when you have to put other people down to make yourself look important, when you have to put the waiter or waitress down so you can try to impress a date, that's kind of sad. Mm-hmm. And a woman of character, a very solid woman, will notice that and she'll move on.
Yeah.
She'll be like, okay, you're a jerk. I don't want to be with you.
Yeah. And security is the opposite. Mm-hmm. So if pride tears people down, security builds people up.
Yeah.
Security lifts people up. A secure guy realizes, one, me adding to you does not take away from me.
Yep.
And I mean, you talked about businessmen. That's another huge business principle. Mm-hmm. A good business transaction adds to both parties. Yeah. It's not me trying to con you.
Yeah.
It's us trying to help each other both succeed. And that's how, a lot of times secure men treat relationships. Mm-hmm. It's I want my friends to be the best they can be. I want my coworkers to be the best they can be. I want, eventually, my spouse to be the best she can be.
Yeah.
That's attractive because that's a basic human thing that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a good way to live.
Well, and you want to be around people who believe in you
and
believe in your capability. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean if you're a guy who's secure and you want to lift people up, it doesn't mean you don't speak truth to people.
That's a good differentiation.
Because sometimes you need to speak truth to say, okay, you're better than that.
Yeah.
You can do better than that.
Yeah.
You push them.
It's not being a suck up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's being someone who may say, okay, you're really performing below what you're capable of. Mm-hmm. Some people need to hear that. And you need to be secure enough as a man to give them that honest truth because you believe in them. You're not putting them down. You're not making fun of them. You're saying, hey, I think you can do better. I think you're going under what you're able to do. Like a coach. We've all had coaches or teachers that really pushed us and said, you're better. And how did we feel after that? We felt better. Yep. We felt like, yeah, I can do more. Or they push you past what you think you can do and you realize I can do a whole lot more than I realize.
Yeah. A secure person lifts other people up authentically.
Yeah, that's
a key word there. Yeah. They do it authentically.
Yeah.
And a secure person is aware of their own imperfections.
Yeah.
You can be secure and be comfortable with yourself, but know that you're not perfect.
Yeah.
And you also, when you're secure, can be comfortable with other people's imperfections.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean, like you said, you're not enabling them.
Yeah.
But you know when to cut people slack. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between a pattern that's bad and somebody making a one-time mistake.
Yeah. And a guy who's secure is someone who can lead and lead well because they're not a dictator. Mm-hmm. They're not sitting on a throne above people, kind of they're coming alongside and partnering with people.
Yeah.
And when you do that with a woman, she's going to want to connect with you a whole lot more because you're lifting her up. You're believing in her dream. You're encouraging her to be better. And that's going to want her to be with you more. That's why she's going to find that so much more attractive than you going, hey, look at me. Mm-hmm. Look at me. I'm the boss. Look at me. I'm the man.
Yeah.
That's not going to be as attractive as you going, I think you're better. I think you can do this. Go for it. Go for your dream. I'm right behind you. Yeah. That's a beautiful thing in a relationship.
Oh, it really is. What you can do is acknowledge that you're not the center of the world when you're secure.
Yeah.
You can be real about, working on yourself, but you can also be comfortable with being a supporting character in their story.
Yeah.
You can just help them. You don't have to be the main character of their story. Mm-hmm. You can help them grow and make their life better for it. That's just something that everyone wants.
Yeah.
In a friend, in a spouse, but also a future parent.
Yeah.
Like that woman also thinks if he does this for me, what is he going to do for my kids?
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it is as a dad, Imagine how much better a dad you'll be if you have that attitude with your children. Hey, you can do better. You can go higher. And you're encouraging your kids in their giftings. You're not living through them vicariously.
It's an important difference.
You're not saying that, well, you should play sports because I played sports. But you're figuring out, hey, I think you're good at this. I think you're good at that. Let me encourage you. And then that's going to build that relationship where that child is going to want to be your child. They want to be your son or daughter, and you're going to have a much better relationship than you being a dictator of the family and just giving and barking orders to them all the time.
Exactly. And when it comes to telling the difference between security and pride, a lot of times the behavior is different between the two, but sometimes the same behavior can come from security or pride.
Yeah.
We'll use the example earlier of not caring.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't care about your circumstances. Well, maybe I should say that better. Sometimes your circumstances don't affect you emotionally because you're secure.
Yeah.
And sometimes you act like they don't affect you emotionally
Yeah.
because you're insecure.
Yeah.
So what we have to do and what our challenge to you guys is today is to reflect. The first question we want you to ask is, how do I treat people who can do nothing for me?
Yeah.
Kind of like what you said with the girl talking about on TikTok, what she looks for in a guy. Like, how do you treat your waiter or waitress? How do you treat the person at Walmart who is checking your groceries out?
Yeah.
How do you treat the IT guy that shows up when your computer's not working?
Yeah.
Because that's going to define how you treat normal people usually.
It is.
That's something to think about.
Yeah, and what that means is we have to really look honestly at ourselves, at what we're doing, and really look at, okay, do I think I'm better than the person at the checkout? Do I think I'm better than the people? You may have different circumstances in life, but that doesn't mean you're better. But if you start thinking you're better than everybody, then that pride is going to come in pretty quick. And you're going to start treating people like, well, they deserve this treatment or they're lower than me. And that's the problem, because that's when you become less secure because you're putting yourself up above them. So just ask yourself those questions, because men who are thriving are secure men. They're men who know who they are, they know where they're going, they're willing to grow, they're willing to learn, and they're willing to bring people along with them. And those are men that people want to be around. And what we're talking about today, women want to be around men like that. They want to be around men who are secure enough to live a positive life, to build into them. They're the ones they build long-term relationships with.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you're perfect. You don't have to be perfect to be secure. But it means you are taking the journey, moving in a good direction with a good attitude.
Yeah.
Because security, a lot of it's about attitude. And it means that you are okay with helping other people along the way. If you have that attitude, women are going to find you more attractive.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're going to, if we're talking like a 1 to 10 scale, one of the top things you can do to go higher up on the scale is this.
Exactly.
If you find that you cannot attract a woman to save your life, look at this.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of the spots.
Yeah.
Because when you get around people with that kind of positive, infectious attitude, they love it.
Yeah.
In the same way that you love that in other people.
Yeah.
We all love that kind of person. And we should all strive to be that kind of person as time goes along.
Yeah, and it really is one of the key ingredients. If you want to become more attractive to women, grow your security, grow yourself. As you do that, you'll be amazed at what opens up, what relationships open up. If you're married, your wife's going to love you more the more secure you get.
That's true.
If you're single, you're going to attract a much higher quality woman the more secure you get. And you're going to be able to recognize her and what she looks like. And that's just going to make your life even better.
Yeah, and it's a lifetime journey.
It is.
You're not going to arrive perfectly, but just being on that journey is one of the biggest parts of the decision.
It really is.
Because when you're willing to do that, it shows.
Yeah.
It shows to other people. So keep asking yourself these questions that we gave you. Reflect on it a little bit and think, how can I begin to adopt an attitude of security where I'm both humble and confident?
Yeah.
Where I'm moving forward and growing, but I'm also comfortable with where I'm at. It's a balance. It's more of a balance than it is an extreme.
It is.
So be thinking about that, and we will see you next week in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Thriving Man Podcast. If you want to check out more resources from David and Reese, you can go to thrivingman.com. We'll see you in the next episode.